So thank you, Anshika, for giving us your valuable time to have you here and discuss a lot of things about e-commerce, your journey, about Bewakoof.com. So we'll just begin this session by asking you a very simple and generic question. How did you start? Because I see you started with a very humble beginning in a manufacturing unit, and now you're sitting at Bewakoof.com as an associate director. So how was your journey? How have you evolved in terms of knowledge, in terms of experience, and if you can just share some of your learnings and experience with us, with our audience.
Sure. Firstly, thank you for inviting me here. Uh, like you said, I started off humble, and I'm I'm privileged to be here, sitting alongside you. Would have been a dream back then, definitely. So I would start a little behind from NIFT. So I did my graduation from NIFT Hyderabad.
Okay.
There in my last year, I was pretty clear that when you write your goal, right, I
Okay.
was pretty clear that I want to open my own manufacturing unit.
Okay.
So that was the plan, 2 years of study, then, do a master's where I gain more knowledge and open my own factory. That
Okay.
was the plan. And when I did my internships in my third and when I did my graduation project in fourth year, I realized that if I had to learn how to open a factory, right,
Mm-hmm.
what job role, let's say, a GM or a factory manager does, it
Mm-hmm.
would have taken me easily 15 to 20 years, right, to
True.
reach there, to understand what their KPIs are, how it is measured, and how do they manage PNL and everything. So I
Correct.
was like, maybe I need to find another way out.
Right.
So that's when I joined Decathlon. So my first job role was to manage factories for Decathlon.
Okay.
Right. So it was more like a quality, compliance, factory management role. So definitely pretty challenging role. While quality is in itself challenging,
Right.
compliances are in themselves challenging. But the bigger challenge for me over there was human management.
Mm-hmm.
Like a GM or a factory manager is late 40s,
True.
right? And I am not even 20 yet, and a girl further than that, and
Yes.
working in a Karnataka factory.
True.
So it was pretty challenging. I had to make sure I learned Kannada. Then I had to
Okay.
make sure, I know how people work. So I learned a lot from there when I look back, all the social skills that I have acquired, my functional management skills, because that is very, very crucial when you
Mm-hmm.
grow up the ladder, right? So I
Right.
started from there. I learned quality compliances there.
Mm-hmm.
Just the next year, I moved into product development because I was like, if I want to manage my own factory, not just factory, let's say layout, compliances are not enough. I need to know the numbers, right?
Right.
So that is when I started my another role, which was about product development and purchase. So
Okay.
for Decathlon, majorly our business was exports. We used to ship to Europe, America, Russia, etc. But I learned a lot of numbers there from a costing perspective,
Okay.
right? And you know how price competitive Decathlon
True.
products are. I'm sure you've
Many
been in
times.
one
Yeah.
of their stores. So yeah, so I learned a lot in terms of costing, negotiation. I learned all my negotiation skills over there,
Mm-hmm.
truthfully. So I think the my base was very clear set, thanks to me working in the factory, thanks to me working with so many people, where
Mm-hmm.
one person, like, there are like these many people in the factory who have to listen to you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot there. In the first 2 years I learned a lot. Then was the time that I had to start my own factory as per my plan.
Okay.
But then I realized that particularly garment manufacturing over the past a decade or so
Mm-hmm.
has been declining, right?
True.
Because the duty benefits that we used to get have been reducing. China, Bangladesh have been more competitive. So I thought maybe I have not explored the market yet enough,
Right.
and I'm very short-sighted. So I thought, let me explore a little more before I decide that I want to open my factory. So maybe I can definitely come back to it any day, right?
Okay.
So I worked a little more on strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was like, e-commerce is it. Because again, in retail, if I want to go up 15, 20 years at what it takes, right?
True, true.
I had a couple of my seniors in Myntra, Geo, Amazon, etc. So I started doing my research and I understood Amazon will not hire me, truthfully, because I have no retail, no e-commerce experience. Flipkart again would not hire me at a good position. They might, after 4 years of experience, they still might offer me an executive role. Does not make sense. I would
Right.
not be able to utilize my know-how. That's when I decided, with all the guidance from my seniors and my mentors, I decided that I will do Myntra.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my only goal seat, that I have to
Okay.
get into Myntra because e-commerce is it. And what better place for fashion in e-commerce than Myntra, right?
Right.
So, yeah, so it took me it was a journey of around 3, 4 months. Had to use my contacts here and there, prepare a lot because e-commerce is entirely different from manufacturing.
Right.
You know, right? So I had to learn everything from my seniors in
Mm-hmm.
terms of even what an SOR OR model is,
Right.
or how does an e-commerce work, because we don't get any exposure. Back then, even in education, we did not have any exposure.
Okay.
So I think how I went from manufacturing to e-commerce was persistence, and because I had a zeal to learn a lot,
Right.
and I knew that if I want to be a CEO in future, even if I open a factory or I open my own brand
Right.
eventually, at the end of the day, I need to know my consumer, and you can never know your consumer sitting in a factory, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is when I decided I wanted to move to e-commerce. Since then, in Myntra, my product knowledge helped me a lot because my biggest project in Myntra was
Mm-hmm.
launching a SMU line, that
Okay.
is basically exclusive product line for Myntra.
Okay.
And I think I was able to successfully do it because I had the right product know-how,
Okay.
working in the factories, working with the merchandisers, etc. So
Got
I
it.
think that shaped my majority of my Myntra career as well.
Mm-hmm.
While then I learned a lot of how to do sales, how does marketing work, so on and so forth. But product know-how was most important.
Mm-hmm.
So usually I tell people that maybe a regular category manager would say that, just get me, let's say, a yellow shirt or a black shirt, right?
Right.
But me coming from product background, I was very clear that this has to be the length of the product. Probably, a printed would work better, or an embellished shirt maybe would work better. I could take more risks
Mm-hmm.
coming from product. So I think that know-how and that detail orientation, which usually you would not have unless you work in the factories where you have to go really, really in depth of each and everything.
True.
So that helped me there. Then from Mintra, I was fortunate enough. I moved to Cult Fit because I wanted to explore another industry.
Okay.
I thought again, like, unless you have explored everything, how do
Right.
you know where do you want to settle,
True.
right? So in Cultfit, I was working on sports services. So
Okay.
Cultfit had acquired a startup called Fitso. They
Okay.
had taken it over from Zomato. I joined there to manage their growth and marketing bit for them.
Okay.
So there I learned right from social media management,
Mm-hmm.
SEO, digital marketing, to even the other side of the picture, which is consumer demand management,
Mm-hmm.
to say what numbers do we want to target, how do we ensure every day we achieve our goals that we have put in
Mm-hmm.
the paper. So all of that bit I learned in Cultfit.
Mm-hmm.
Then just 3 quarters before I've joined Bewakoof, back to fashion. I think that's where my heart lies.
Yeah, you
Coming
also
back
figured
to
out.
fashion. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I joined here initially. I was managing the marketplace. So a lot of people don't really know Bewakoof has its own marketplace. We have 100 odd brands which sell on Bewakoof
Okay.
because definitely you have to ensure that you are one-stop shop, right?
Right.
And because Bewakoof is generally known for t-shirts and now joggers and a bit of other categories, we wanted to make sure that even if a user is looking for, let's say, shoes,
Mm-hmm.
jeans, or anything for that matter, is available, and that is why we have Marketplace, which
Right.
is a fair share of our revenue right now.
Mm-hmm.
However, because Marketplace has been successful, it's a great model which has been running for about 2 years. We realized that why not get all of those products by ourselves,
Right.
right? So one big challenge of e-commerce, D2C, or in general e-commerce fashion is that trends are moving faster than
True.
brands
True.
most of the times, right? So that is when we thought that let's work on a line. I'm currently, for the past 3 months, I'm working on a sub brand which we will be launching
Okay.
soon enough,
Okay.
which is going to be all about trends, all about Gen Z, making sure that we have the right product at the right time, not just t-shirts, but you talk about women fashion wear, men's fashion
Right.
wear, and everything. So that's what I've been working on for now.
Okay, great. I mean, that's a huge, I should say that's a mix of everything that an associate director needs, to be honest. A mix of manufacturing, a mix of, POC experience, a mix of some other category. So I think you are sitting at the right place and taking the right decisions. So, Anshika, like, Bewakoof, it started. It had a again very humble beginning from a garage, and now it's a big brand that a lot of, I mean, almost every youth and youngsters know, right? And every brand, I mean, from the brand perspective, a lot of brands they want to onboard themselves on Bewakoof. So, what is the goal like? I mean, where is Bewakoof heading towards? I mean, are they only looking towards, this particular niche, or you're also coming up with something which is like more generic, like Nika Fashion or Mintra, you know? Are there any plans like that?
Sure. Definitely. So, like I already mentioned, we have to be one-stop shop. That we realized soon enough that while people would be like, for an example, our numbers when it comes to retention ratios or when it comes to organic traffic is great, but at the same time, people at the moment were only coming for very particular niche products, right? But we don't want to stop there. um, uh, Rather, since the acquisition from Aditya Birla, the strategy has been to be everywhere.
Right.
When I say everywhere, we want to cater to all the fashion needs of a consumer, not just, let's say, a comfort fashion need, right?
Okay.
While we are not going to be, let's say, evening wear yet,
Mm-hmm.
we're far from there because our brand identity still talks about, quirkiness, fashion forward, etc. So, but at the same time, we've recently launched jeans. A couple of months back, we launched shirts.
Okay.
We will be soon enough launching footwear. As in shoes, casual shoes, funky shoes, all of that, right? So our trajectory, our strategy is to give everything a consumer needs,
Okay.
right from a t-shirt to a denim jacket, to flared jeans
True.
that a person would need. So everything that our niche audience is looking for.
Okay.
Also, we are going omni.
Okay.
We definitely realize that digital is not the only channel.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, if you want the right consumer experience, you have to be everywhere. You
True.
have to do 360-degree marketing. You need to know, you need the customers to know that I am available everywhere, wherever you are, right?
True.
So we are doing offline as well. We will be going live in Pantaloons, and soon enough we will be launching our own stores as well.
Great.
So I
That's
think
great.
that's the
Yeah.
future.
So
Yeah,
the plans are pretty big as of now that I can see. Okay, that's great.
definitely.
So, Anshika, again, I'm a little curious here. Like, people say, a lot of brands are also saying that now this is the saturation point. Like, there are too many brands. What to do? Because the risk of failure has gone way too up these days, if you look at it. So, is there any, advice you have for those people or youngsters or, especially the young people who want to start their brand? in a particular niche in clothing industry? I mean, because you have such a huge experience from manufacturing to, this level today. Would you have any advice for those people who have already started this or want to start in this particular niche?
Sure. I mean, definitely, 100% agree with what you said that it's too crowded. We are at the epitome of too many brands, too many D2C brands, too many opening every day, right? Definitely. So, my suggestion to everybody who is planning to start afresh is, don't become a part of the noise. Rather, always rather find those white spaces
Okay.
where you feel the opportunity is still available, right?
Okay.
Let data speak for you. uh, Let data make you understand where is it that you want to start from.
Mm-hmm.
Do not, I mean, I'm always a promoter of data. First see the data and then
Right.
take decisions, but also what data to look at, right? Like, you need to understand consumer behavior. One exercise that I suggest people is, write your predictions. Like, for an example, I do that myself. Write predictions to say, it's not necessary for your business, but to say that according to you, let's say because of the war,
Mm-hmm.
the prices of oil will go XYZ, or
Right.
let's say Indian rupee will be the XYZ, right? Put
Mm-hmm.
numbers and do predictions, and come back to those predictions for whatever time frame you had mentioned,
Right.
so that you know how well you can read data. So that is from a personal front, understand reading data. Now, coming to the business angle, once you've read data, you've analyzed which niche audience you want to target, because knowing your TG is very, very important,
Right.
right? Decide your TG and make sure it's not very vast. I think one big concern that I see is, people want to sell it to everybody, but
Mm-hmm.
then at the end of the day they are not able to create their brand identity. People will
Right.
not have a brand recall value. So maybe just start with a 200 audience, make it very, very niche, and then grow from there.
Okay.
That is my advice from TG perspective. But from business perspective, I would say, where everybody is burning money, I wouldn't advise in the same path. Rather, I have seen, working in the three different e-commerce that I have worked in, people have money. It's just about the worth that you can give them of the money, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
if you would have seen, right now, cargos are too much in trend,
True.
right?
True.
However, you can still find that cargo for, let's say, 700-800,
Correct.
from a regular brand, an unknown brand. However, had you launched that cargo, let's say, 4-5 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
there were no competitors. You could have easily sold that same product, same fabric, everything same, at, let's say, 1600 rupees,
True.
right? So you need to envision what product your consumer wants.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, your consumer could have wanted a different product than
Right.
a cargo, but launching the product at the right time to ensure that you're profitable. Because right now, everybody knows, because of the noise, the
Right.
customer acquisition costs are above the roof, right? So you need to make sure that the customer that you're acquiring, you're able to give them the right product such that you are also profitable.
True.
That is one. And also, secondly, I think everybody, performance marketing has become such a buzzword right now, that everybody wants that some agency does the performance marketing for them, gets them users, and somebody will at least look at them and get the conversions.
True.
But most important part is the conversion and retention. So I think one big success that I had seen when I was working at Cult was, my marketing budgets were similar or rather diminishing each month, right? Because
Okay.
we have to be profitable each month. But
Correct.
um, I had to make sure that with the same audience, I do more revenue,
Right.
right? So my suggestion is, work on retaining your user,
Mm-hmm.
work on more better SEO, work on organic traffic, so that you don't have to spend more, and the spend amount you can gain more over the years, is what I would suggest. And lastly, work on bigger average ticket size.
got it.
right? Like I was reading a data
Mm-hmm.
yesterday. While in US, the average amount of spends a user does on e-commerce
Mm-hmm.
is about 60,000 in INR. In India, that number is only 320 rupees a year,
Okay.
right? So the potential and the number is in by 2025, it'll grow by 2030. Ideally, it is expected to go 1.5x. That also indicates clearly that people, everybody's buying power is increasing. So take the right
Mm-hmm.
benefit of it, right? Don't just play in the value segment, is what I would suggest. People have money, just you need to know how to take it out.
Exactly, exactly. I think you are the number person, so you do a lot of analytics and a lot of data, crunching. And I think this is something which is also missing in this industry. So a lot of brands, they straight away take a decision and jump into this crowded market without doing a proper research. So I think this is where you are indicating that brands should spend more time on doing the right research and save money, uh, without spending it in the wrong direction. So that was a great advice. I,
Yeah.
I think we wouldn't have got that from anybody else than you. So thank you very much. It's very
Thank you.
knowledgeable session for me as well, for sure. I really appreciate that. So now we spoke about the brands, Anshika. How about the buyers? Now you have more than 10 million buyers now, if I'm not wrong. So how you're able to continue that trust with those buyers? Like, there are a lot of fake products running around, and they very easily dissolve into your inventory through return. So how do you keep a check on those kind of you know fake products? Because once the trust is breached, it's very difficult to retain, as you are already very much aware about it. So how that mechanism works in bewakoof.com?
Sure. I definitely agree. One big part of trust comes from the product, right?
Right.
Even today, people are, in general, people are worried that if I order online, will I even get the right product? Or
True.
people don't want to buy high value products yet. So, definitely, in marketplace also, when I had joined, there are certain pin codes where we know fraud is happening, right?
Right.
But so I spoke to other friends of mine who are working in different other brands and e-commerce as well. It's common across, right?
Right.
It's not just our brand or your brand. There could be multiple ways how you can manage that. How we have managed is we've gotten more data.
Okay.
So there are a lot of organizations who can give you the base data to say that this user, they will not give it to us. You can just plug that in your system. This user in the history has, let's say, bought 10 products from different platforms
Okay.
and has returned 9 of them, right?
Okay.
So is not a trustworthy user. So you
Right.
use that tech. That is one. Second is you have to be at the top of your orders every day. So
Okay.
that you can do again manually also and automatically also. How we have automated that is, so one pattern that we saw is a lot of times people order through chatbots.
Right.
So they create those chatbots where one chatbot will just order 10 product, whichever is the high value product from your website, and such many orders will occur, right?
Right.
So what we've done in automation is anytime any particular SKU, not a product, but let's say a XL size of a particular t-shirt, has gotten more than two orders,
Right.
is something, it could be fishy, right? So
Okay.
we've created those alerts where the customer experience team gets to know that something like that has happened. Then they speak to the customer, understand if it's a genuine customer, non-genuine customer, and proceed with the orders accordingly. So it's a mix of both auto and manual. How do
Okay.
we deal with the fraud customers? That is one. But definitely there could be products that could come back, right,
Right.
to the warehouse. So there the warehouse team takes care of it by ensuring that 100% QC of
Okay.
the products which are in wording are done. So I think that's how it is, a tricky road, but we've seen great numbers since we've implemented all of these systems.
Right.
Our fraud returns have reduced drastically by around 75 to 80% by
Okay.
taking these measures in the past couple of months. So I think we are through now. Very less number of
Okay.
fraud customers we are dealing with right now.
Great. Now, actually, I was curious to know this reason because as an agency, we manage a lot of brands and on a lot of marketplaces. One thing we notice is that Bewakoof has comparatively very less returns. So I think this is one of the
Yeah.
reason that you just specified that you are doing that scrutiny well in advance, which other brands do it, marketplaces do it at a later stage. So, and that helps a lot of time.
I
Yeah, please continue.
Yeah, when you talk about, while I was talking about fraud returns, in general, also our returns at Bewakoof are, I would say, if not one third, half of any other marketplace that I know of, right?
Right.
For an example, while for Myntra, the returns could be as high as 40-45%, right? On an
Right.
average, sometimes even higher. Our returns holistically are below industry standards as well because of the two factors. One is the quality,
Mm-hmm.
and second is the size standardization.
Right.
Um, while even now that I'm working on a new subline,
Mm-hmm.
the focus on quality is extreme, right? Like I know it's very difficult for me to even get one lot passed because we're very stringent in terms of
Right.
quality, and also the size, the measurements that are there which are standardized. So we, like I said, we want to go in all the areas,
Mm-hmm.
but we're going to go slow. Like once we launch, let's say, a denim range.
Mm-hmm.
The next time we launch it, we want to make sure that all the feedback that we've gotten in terms of, even if the return is 10%, whatever the feedback we've gotten in terms of size, in terms of look and feel, we incorporate that and then launch the another lot of it. And then
Okay.
we standardize, and then obviously it becomes a BAU.
Okay. Okay. No, that's a great piece of information for me. I hope that'll be useful for a lot of other brands also who are watching this video, as well as the consumers also who are watching this video. So thank you very much, Anshika, for sharing that information. How about customer service now? How important you
Sure.
think customer service is for marketplaces, and how much, what big of a role it plays in terms of retaining a customer for a longer duration, and what's your strategy? How do you keep up with that element of customer service?
Sure. Um, so I think most people can confuse customer service or customer experience
Mm-hmm.
only after sales. While I recommend everybody that customer customer experience starts from where a consumer finds out or discovers your product,
Exactly.
right
Yes.
from there to then after services that comes way later,
True.
right? So I think how do you get to know about a particular product creates a lot of difference from then itself, up with regards to if you're going to retain with the brand or not. I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say the first time I was introduced about Starbucks was from my sister.
Okay.
She's elder to me, and she has been associated. She had been associated because of the loyalty program that it offered. Right,
Okay.
you get a card and then you get points,
True.
etc., etc. So I got to know about Starbucks from my sister. So
Okay.
that became an aspirational brand for me.
Okay.
Now, when a brand is aspirational for me, I would want to stay with it or explore it more than I would have if I did it, let's say, through an ad. Right? So that is the first touch
Right.
point. How do you discover a particular product or brand? Then comes your product. What exactly are you selling? This, like
Right.
I spoke about before as well. If you are giving what a consumer wants, is very, very important. That also shapes a consumer experience in terms of how well he or she will retain with you. Are you just selling a product which let's say for an example, they just searched for black trousers and you were one of the brands which had a fair price. That is why I bought it. I'm not gonna stay with you for long because you were one amongst the crowd, right? However,
Right.
while I was thinking about a black trouser, but my friend was wearing it and he recommended it. Or let's say I have a community, I read books, I have a book community, or I have e-commerce community. Those people suggest me, or somebody is wearing there.
Mm-hmm.
If I explore it from there, or from a influencer, or rather, let's say a celeb who's wearing it, I would
Okay.
know the brand better. My experience would be better there, and I would have more chances to retain with that brand. So that is about what product, how do you discover it. Then also, basically, or on the website, how is your
Mm-hmm.
experience? That is the biggest chunk of consumer experience and consumer service, in my
Right.
opinion, um, which essentially can be attained by personalization. Like for an example, if you open your example Flipkart or Amazon or
Mm-hmm.
Myntra, any app, your phone and my phone would look entirely different, right? Because
Correct.
of personalization. Because maybe in the past you would have searched for a mobile phone, whereas maybe I would have in the past searched for a laptop, example,
Right.
right? Or something entirely different, let's say home decor. So my app and your app would look entirely different. So there also, there's a lot that can go around in terms of
Mm-hmm.
consumer experience. That's a different ball game altogether.
Okay.
How do you do personalization to ensure better retention? Like for an example, when again I was in cult because that's where I worked most on the app. Just by improving the personalization, by giving the coupons that people would want. For an example, I'll give you a trivial
Okay.
example.
Sure.
There were some sort of people who would prefer a 50% off,
Mm-hmm.
whereas one target audience, if I put a buy one get one, it's the same price, right? But buy
Okay.
one get one would get more
Yes.
eyeballs,
True. That's a psychology.
right? So, putting the right offer to the right, yeah, exactly, playing with the psychology. So showing the right offers so that they get more attracted. They will
Right.
feel that, it's for me, or presenting it to them that this offer is only for you. So maybe make all of those coupons used by only one user, or make them feel that this is only for you, right?
Correct.
So making them feel that the entire experience is only for you. This entire layout of the app is only for you. That is also a very major part when it comes to consumer experience and consumer service.
Right.
And like I was saying, just by CRM and by app personalization,
Mm-hmm.
my revenue had shot up. Just the same offers, the same everything,
Right.
facilities. My revenue shot up by around 17%, which is
Okay.
a good
Huge.
number,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely.
It's huge number. So that is very important. Then lastly would be the final, how do you treat your users after they have bought once on your app or on your
Right.
website or through your brand. That becomes the last part of it, but very, very important again. How do you, so I think one very important part is how do you keep them engaged? Now they
Correct.
have bought a product, right? Now, for an example, if a user has bought a jeans, how often do you buy your jeans in a
Mm-hmm.
year? Maybe twice, right?
Correct.
At max, right? So now you know that your user will probably come back to you after 6 months,
Correct.
but you have to keep your consumer engaged. Now you could do that with, let's say, your notifications, how Zomato keeps you engaged, right?
Mm-hmm.
By sending you those quirky notifications,
True.
you could do
True.
that, right? Or you could, like, for an example, how Bewakoof has been there, like, hats off to the brand, how we've been consistently been doing that is
Mm-hmm.
how we keep our consumers engaged in our polls. Like, we have weekly design polls.
Right.
Even lately, yeah, we launched two of our celebs, Rashmika Mandana and
Uh-huh.
Ishan Khatter. Even there, to decide which celeb we want to
Oh.
get on board, we let our consumers decide.
Okay.
So consumers stay engaged with the brand.
Okay.
They feel that they're a part of all the decisions of the brand. They stay connected. They would use your app more often, even
Yes.
if they're just coming to the app and putting the product in cart and not buying it. Is good enough because you're keeping them engaged,
Right.
right? In general, I'll tell you, any app or any website, roughly 60% of the users never come back on your platform,
Yeah.
which is a very, very big number, considering the cost of acquisition lately is very high. So
Correct.
keeping them engaged through, like I said, you can do notifications, or you could do emailers, all of that. You could also do communities. I'll give you another example. In Decathlon, for an example, it's the best example when I talk about community. They have right from store level WhatsApp groups to they have so many events going on related to you can play any sports, come there, play sports. There are a lot of communities where people are going cycling together, running together.
Okay.
That's all to keep them engaged, right? Because at the end of that run, they will come to the decathlon store.
True, true.
Even if they buy or not, they will come back to
Exactly.
the store. So keeping them engaged is essentially important for you to ensure that your retention is very good, and keep nudging them once in a while. But at the same time, make sure it's not too much, because there could be days that your uninstall ratios could go very, very high because
Yeah,
you nudge them a lot.
that's true. I
So
think this
I
this
think these and
yeah, I'm
yeah.
so sorry. Please continue.
And I think chatbots, everybody know. You should definitely have that one point of contact, be it a chatbot, or if possible, even have those phone call availability
Okay.
for a user to reach out to you. So I think these are essentially important, like a baseline.
Thank you so much. I think this particular discussion was, I would say, one of the most, interesting and important discussion in this entire session, because a lot of brands they fail because of this particular reason. I mean, they shoot up to a level and then they suddenly collapse because they were not able to manage their, or sustain their client base. So I think
Correct.
this is a very interesting information which you gave. I'll not ask you the exact number, Anshika, but the average, I would say, the industry, average retention rate is around, expected retention rate is around 30%. So just you can let us know whether your retention rate is more than that or is it like lower than that.
Actually, two things that we're very proud of at Bewakoof is our retention rate and
Okay.
our organic traffic.
Okay.
Our retention rates are always between 50 to 60%. So our retention rates are really, really good.
That's
And our organic traffic is in the same numbers. So
okay.
that is something that we're very proud of. Yeah.
I think that's the best that I've heard so far in clothing industry. 60%, 50 to 60
Yeah.
percent retention rate is like it's a winner for any brand. I mean, if
Yeah.
anybody is able to
Yeah.
sustain that number, the journey is very smooth. I mean, brands are still trying to reach to that 30% level. Plenty of brands that I know, but they are still struggling. So good to know that
Yeah.
strategy which you're following is helping you to do this, and hopefully it'll help the other aspiring brands also to reach to that level. But as you initially
Definitely.
mentioned, that consistency and hard work and knowledge, experience, and all that will matter. So without that, it's very difficult to grow any brand. So the last question: any message, Anshika, you have for aspiring brands or young people who would like to get into this fashion industry, because as it's very saturated, not saturated, there's a lot of space here, but people think it's saturated, and whether we can succeed or not succeed. So any advice you have in terms of customer experience, in terms of investments, funding, or anything that you think might be useful for young people of our country?
Yeah, like you said, it is clustered, but it is not, truthfully. Uh, I think when I have to look for a new resource, it's pretty difficult. So it's like I never understand the situation. The recruiters are trying to always recruit people, and there are people who are not able to find the job. So
Okay.
I think that's where I feel that I feel a little dissatisfaction when I see that people are not making that extra effort. I might be wrong here, but people are settling for less. is
Okay.
what I feel lately. Especially even in my office, all these 23, 24 years olds, I'm not very old as well, but the newer people, they just feel that, I only want to earn money. I feel don't run behind money. This is what I would say for professionals.
Mm-hmm.
Don't run behind money. I never did, but I have gotten good enough.
Right.
Run behind the know-how. I always say that, run behind the know-how, because people would then ask for you and give you money that you want. But I
Right.
see everybody is just running behind money, and they just want to switch jobs in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, because
Right.
they're getting better offer somewhere else, or they have very low tolerance power when it comes to working overboard. While I'm not asking you to work too much, but I'm asking you to invest enough time in
Mm-hmm.
terms of learning new things. One one message that one of my initial managers had taught me was,
Mm-hmm.
um, if you want to be a manager, act like a manager, right?
Exactly.
You can't be, yeah, so you can't be working uh, at certain level and expect somebody to promote you unless you perform at that level, right? And
True.
how would you
True.
be able to perform at that level? If you put in some extra effort.
Mm-hmm.
So I think put in more effort, and think big. Just don't let your aspirations be too tiny, or very short term or short lived. Think big and think long term. And I think don't
Mm-hmm.
always think of growing vertically. I always suggest people that I am a live example, right?
Mm-hmm.
I With whatever hardships, with whatever I had to work towards,
Mm-hmm.
I I learned to grow horizontally better than vertically, and vertical growth comes by itself. That is why just keep learning, and unless you've explored at least 10 options, how do you know which one you like the
True.
best,
True.
right? So keep exploring, keep learning, and then everything will fall into place eventually. So
True.
this is for, let's say, the professionals. um, for brands, I would say, um, do 360-degree marketing. Uh, the users right now, especially Gen Zs, are
Mm-hmm.
using more and more apps, right? More apps than any other generation did. So you have to be present anywhere. You can't restrict yourself to just influencer marketing. You have to be even on, let's say, in shorts marketing, or you have to be on Reddit, or you have to be anywhere and everywhere that your user is. You would know better where your user is. Be everywhere, go omni, because people still want to feel your product.
Right.
While shoots can be as amazing, but they still want to feel your product, especially after COVID, because of people were really bored of sitting at home. The tourism industry, if you've seen, has gone crazy, right? Because people are
Right.
going out. So that means the opportunity that you will have by connecting to the user would be by offline,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you have to be omnipresent. um, that is definitely there, and be profitable. Please do not compromise your profits for anything. Have a good runway.
Yeah.
Don't think that next month somebody will take care of you. Don't work on that. At least
Mm-hmm.
have, I mean, I personally feel if I start something, I would at least have a runway of 2 years. But it's a lot for a lot of people. But
Mm-hmm.
don't short live. Have a future aspiration, and be, I would say, be very loud in terms of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just dissolve your brand identity. Be very strong in terms of your brand identity,
Right.
irrespective of whatever it is. I think I've
No,
spoken a lot.
no, no, no. Everything you're saying that makes sense, and you know that there are very few people in this industry who talk like this. Because definitely you have that experience, and it's your experience that's talking. Uh, the reason why this is important is because a lot of brands, they think that they can start a brand and they can become a brand within 3 or 4 months or 6 months. But I
Not
think it's a long
possible.
journey. It's not just like spending for 3 months and they can become a brand. I mean, since you have handled so many brands in the past, worked with so many brands, any advice for those people or those brands who think they can grow in 6 months? And if you think they can, is it possible? I mean, how would they do it if you think that is possible? That is the last question I have.
See, in 3 to 6 months, you can definitely do revenue, no denying that. But building a brand cannot be as short as 3 to 6 months. You need to, if you want your brand to be known for longer term, if you want your brand to be aspirational and not just affordable, you have to spend time. Matlab, at least expect 2 years, at least. That's a minimum that I would
Right.
suggest. 3 to 6 months, great. You can even touch a crore number a month. It's possible, right? Because all you have to do is just understand from Amazon or Flipkart what's
Right.
selling, just reproduce that. But you're not going to be creating a niche. You're just going to be taking revenue from somebody else's
Right.
brand. That's all you will be doing at that point
True.
in time, right? You won't be creating a brand identity. You'll be just somebody who's selling those black pants. That is what I would say. So give time. Uh, but right from the start, start building your brand identity. Go strong in communities. Go strong in terms of brand recall value. Only then can you create a brand and
Hmm.
not just another website.
Wow. Wow, so much of information. I think I'll go ahead and, see this video myself once again because I'm going to catch up a lot of things that you said for sure. So thank you, Anshika, for this wonderful session. I really appreciate that from our end, from Fiber to Fashion. Great, thank you for you. And also, hopefully, we'll connect in the future again, talking about something better and bigger compared to what we discussed. Talking more about other topics that matters for bigger businesses and bigger consumer bases. So for today,
Sure.
I once again thank you for being with us and appreciate everything that you said. And I'm really confident that this is going to help our audience and a lot of brands in India for sure.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. It was really a pleasure for me to be here, and I I am open to another discussion because I want people to know the reality of e-commerce and take one step at a time, but very strong step at a time. That's what I want.
Definitely.
I also want to the e-com industry to grow bigger. We're just 3.5% of the entire
True.
retail industry. There's a lot of
Lot.
room to grow right now.
I think the next generation is
Yeah,
waiting for people like you and others who are willing to share knowledge and information. So your contribution is going to matter
definitely.
a lot for the upcoming generation for sure.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
All right, Anshika, nice
Thank you so
catching up with
much.
you.
Have a great day.
You too. Take care.
Same here.
See you. Bye.
Take care.
Thank